Welcome back to Roots and Rows, the podcast where we have short, practical conversations about irrigation, fertigation, automation, and the everyday decisions that help your roots and your rows thrive. If you joined us for our first episode, we talked about end-of-season maintenance and winterizing your drip system, how to shut things down the right way and protect your investment through cold weather. But today, we're going to be looking ahead. We're talking about building your startup plan and how to use winter downtime, especially around the holidays, to set yourself up for a strong and smooth spring. This episode will be airing right before Christmas and New Year's, and for a lot of growers, this is one of the few stretches of year where things slow down just enough to think ahead. Not stopped, just slower. So maybe you've got a little bit of shop time, maybe you're catching up on paperwork or are finally back from the CPA's office after dealing with end-of-year taxes. Maybe you're finally thinking about next season without equipment waiting on you. This downtime we know is valuable, and how you use it can make a big difference once irrigation season ramps back up. At EQIP, we don't slow down as much in the winter. It is actually one of the times of year where we are a little bit busier. We are also gearing up for spring by getting designs out the door, talking with customers, and trying to make good plans for upcoming installations. We work to get bids back quickly during this time of year since we know that a new installation or replacement of a system would be your top priority once the weather was nice enough to get into the field. And we always want to meet those expectations. So let's talk about startup plan. Why does a startup plan matter? A startup plan doesn't have to be complicated. It's not a big binder or something fancy that you never look at again. It's simply deciding ahead of time what you're going to check, test, adjust, and fix before the crop actually needs the water. Spring is always busy, and irrigation problems always show up on the hottest, driest, most inconvenient day of the year. Never fails. So little planning now will save you time, water, and stress. So our step one in this process is going to be reviewing last season. The best place for you to start your plan is with last season. In our last episode, we talked a little bit about this and how these questions can be very helpful to you come spring. So while it's still fresh, ask yourself, which fields performed well? Which fields struggled early? Did you notice pressure issues, wet spots, or uneven zones? How did fertigation timing line up with crop demand? Did your automation work the way that you expected? All of these questions don't have to be something formal, but a few notes is enough. If you don't write it down now, though, you'll probably forget by planning. So that's why we're suggesting let's start with that last season review. Step 2 is going to be building our startup checklist. This is kind of the backbone of our plan. It's obviously not something that we are doing right this very second, but putting the thought behind the process and making a plan for yourself is a sure way to ace the spring. So we're going to start simple and work field by field. The first thing that we can put on our little checklist is mechanical checks. So before water even hits the field, did we inspect our pumps and motors? Did we verify valves are opening and closing correctly? Have we looked to see if any critters did damage over the winter? Hopefully our winterizing kept them away and didn't allow them to come and wreak havoc in our filter buildings, but you never know. Did we check for anything that may have frozen or busted in the event that our winterizing did not go as well as planned? Did we make sure our flush points are accessible? Was there anything that you may have accidentally hit with a tractor or implement during harvest that needs to be replaced? A lot of times this is one of those things that we will find. We can also check our levels on our automation, on our batteries to make sure that we're not below that critical voltage point. Changing out these batteries in the spring will undoubtedly save you from future stress. Automation works best when it's tested before you rely on it. And just like with our farming equipment, catching mechanical issues early will keep them from becoming mid-season emergencies. So the next little part that we switch into is for our filter side. Obviously, during our winterization process and our end of season shutdown, we looked at our filters, but when we're coming back into the spring, we still want to give them a little bit of special attention. So we're going to check our media levels in our sand filters and look for any channeling. We'll confirm that our backwash valves are functioning correctly, and we'll install clean screens or discs and inspect our seals. Again, we talked about this during the winter, but We will address them in the spring just to make sure everything is as perfect as possible. Filtration issues don't usually announce themselves, but they will show up later as poor uniformity. When we consider starting back up our drip system, there are also some things that we want to do when we look at bringing the system back online, so to speak. So we're going to go zone by zone. We will check our operating pressures in the field, and we will watch for any surface wetting or soft spots. Startup is really about observation. Slow and deliberate now will prevent those bigger problems later on. So, after our first episode, we had some questions come in from our listeners. And so, we wanted to address those with you all now. So, one of the questions that we had dealt with spring flushing. So, the question was sent: if we flushed the system during shutdown, do we still need to flush again in the spring? Okay, very good question. Short answer: yes, but it doesn't have to be aggressive. Think of your spring flushing as a quick check, not a deep clean. Things can settle over the winter, and you want to make sure that everything is flowing as evenly as possible before you then rely on the system, right? So it's just going to be this small step that gives you that confidence early. So, yes, let's go ahead and redo that spring flush. Okay, jumping back into our checklist. So, step 3 is going to be preseason watering and soil sampling strategy. So, let's talk about how do these fit into your startup plan. So, first question: should you pre water? Very good question. A question that was actually sent in by one of our listeners is: if we had decent rainfall this winter, do we still need to pre water? So the honest answer is maybe. Pre-watering isn't automatic. It depends on how much winter precipitation or even what winter precipitation you had. Rainfall is going to be different than snow. So we need to consider how much we actually put back into the soil. Our soil type and our crop needs are also things that are going to change that question for you. So, if our winter moisture was light, pre watering can help fill the soil profile and create more uniform emergence for us, especially in coarse or layered soils. So, the goal isn't really to start wet, it's to start even. And that's one of the biggest tips and tricks that we could give to you. So, timing of our preseason watering with SDI. With SDI, this timing really matters because the earlier that we can do it, it's usually going to be better for us rather than right before planting. It gives water time to move laterally and vertically. It's going to also reduce our soft spots at planting, and it can avoid cooling already cold soils. If you wait until planting time, you're really going to already be behind in this process. So that's why we just encourage you to start your pre water before you actually think that you might need to. So, how much water is enough? Preseason watering should focus on filling your root zone, not saturating the soil. Short, controlled runs are better than long sets. Consider your soil type and use your past ET as guides. If you have sensors, confirm whether you have actually recharged your profile or not. Guessing is always going to lead to overwatering. So let's transition a little bit into soil sampling. Question that we had sent in is it better to soil sample in the fall or wait until the spring? Great question. So, in most cases, winter sampling gives you the cleanest baseline. Your past harvests, nutrients have settled, and you're no longer dealing with in season fertilizer applications. If you wait until spring, though, things can get busy fast. We see that all the time. And then sampling gets rushed or sometimes even skipped. At EQIP, if you're part of our fertigation program, we'll actually come out and do these soil samplings for you in the winter months. That way, you know what is in your soil profile, what nutrients you have, and what nutrients you are lacking. And then that way, we can go ahead and start to build your fertigation plan ahead of time. So you know exactly what your crop needs once that seed is in the ground, not after. Our soil sampling depth definitely matters with SDI. This sampling depth is critical. We're going to take samples by depth, not just surface samples. Nutrients move differently under SDI, and surface tests alone will not be telling the full story. So, understanding what's happening deeper in your profile will help you plan fertigation timing more accurately. So, when we consider using these soil samples to guide fertigation, what are some of the things that we're looking at? So, soil samples can help you avoid front loading nutrients. They can reduce early season nitrogen if residuals are high. They will shift timing instead of increasing rates. And then they'll match fertility to root development. So the goal isn't more fertilizer, it's better timing. And in the end, if we can save some money in doing so, isn't that the icing on the cake? There are tools to help you make a better crop and use less inputs doing so. And we are very happy to help you find those and understand the results. We have certified crop consultants that have spent years learning specifics about just about every type of crop you can imagine, from corn to watermelons and everywhere in between. We want to help you understand whatever you are growing, and soil sampling is going to be the best way to do that for you. So, our holiday downtime, this stretch between Christmas and New Year's, is a great time again to knock out tasks that are hard to prioritize during the growing season. So, some of the other things that you might be considering are ordering replacement parts, scheduling inspections or service. If there are things that you know that you need for us to come out and do for you, go ahead and call us now and we can get you on the books for whatever time is convenient for you. During this time, you might also be looking at updating your software. You can organize your field notes, like all of the different checklist things that we just gave you. These are great opportunities to get all of that ready for the spring season. Then maybe you'll consider talking with your team, making sure that everyone is ready to go and is going to put their best foot forward for your upcoming crop year. So, winter is really the time when your best spring seasons are built. So, one last thing that we wanted to go into, we would be completely remiss if we did not bring this up, but our EQIP funding timing and reminder for you. So, one question that we had sent was, is it too late to look into EQIP if we haven't started the process yet? Okay. So, the answer is no, it is not too late, but you definitely do need to move quickly. Many EQIP applications are due by mid-January, so now is the time to make the call to your local NRCS office. We have heard that the deadline in Texas will be January 15th. So again, we're only, at this point, 3 weeks away from that timeline. If you're considering a conservation plan of any variety, whether that be adding water management tools, cover crops, replacing an aging 20-year-old or older system, or adding moisture probes, or even installing a new subsurface drip irrigation system, you'll be considering the same process steps no matter which plan you are looking at. So everything relating to EQIP funding is focused on improving water efficiency, soil health, soil erosion, and irrigation improvements. Conservation practices that address these priority resource concerns will improve your funding chances. Even if you don't want to apply this year, or maybe you just aren't quite ready for that or haven't watered those 2 out of the last 5 years, understanding now what qualifies you can help guide your long-term planning. We actually just created a flyer that will help you understand each step of this process, and our sales team is ready to help you with any questions that you may have. Understanding this process and having all of your ducks in a row ahead of your visit to the local office is going to save you time and allow you to still get the rest over the winter that you deserve. Deadlines come fast once January hits, though. So that is why we're bringing this up now and wanting to give you the details that you need to make these decisions. So as we wrap up, remember this: using winter, especially holiday downtime, to review last season, building your startup checklist, planning preseason watering, and using your soil data to guide your fertigation decision is going to be so crucial for you come spring. A little effort now goes a long way once that crop is in the ground. So, thank you for listening to Roots and Rows. We're really glad that you joined us for our second episode. We are very much looking forward to our third episode as well, where we will be bringing in special guests. At that time, we will talk about how the roots of EcoDrip started well over 40 years ago. So until then, we hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining us.